Hi, it's Fab Paul here. Welcome back to BizJet TV, and today we're going to talk about 3 tips to reducing your business jet operating costs. Yes, you can bring that cost down. The first thing you need to do, number 1, to reduce your cost is to actually pay your pilots more money. You say, hey Fab, what's this? You're just talking about reducing costs and you're telling me I need to pay my pilot more money? Well, this is very, very simple. If you pay your pilots more money, you're going to attract better pilots, okay? So by attracting and also retaining good pilots, you're going to be able to execute points 2 and 3 a lot better. So that's point number 1, is pay your pilots more money to reduce the operating costs of your private jet. Point number 2 is fuel management, and there are 2 aspects to fuel management. The first one is down to the purchase of your fuel. Now, sometimes you'll be going to certain airports and you may be just doing maybe an hour and a half's flying before you launch out into an 8-hour flight, and you find out that the price at your point of origin is so much per gallon, say $4.50, and then the other airport you're landing at, the price is actually $5.20. So what you're going to do then is you're going to try and load as much fuel on at your point of origin to then not have to refuel at the second airport before you launch on to your final destination. Now, in order to be able to manage that, and the other factor is that at each airport, private jet airports, many times there's more than one FBO. An FBO is basically a private jet terminal, and some airports have 2 or 3 of these FBOs, and each FBO sells fuel. So it's important that your pilot, if you've hired a good pilot, they will go out there and they will search and they'll find the best price. So you go into an FBO where the fuel price is lower, they'll know if to purchase more fuel at a certain airport or not. So instead of just purchasing what you find on your flight plan, let's say you require, 10,000 kilos of fuel for your flight, but you can actually put 15,000 kilos on and it works out cheaper, you're going to buy your fuel at that airport. So that really is down to having a good pilot, and very often good pilots want more money and they want to be treated well as well. So there's that aspect as well. It's not just the money. So that's the first aspect of fuel management. It's obviously the purchase of the fuel, the cost that you're paying for the fuel. The second thing is the actual management of the aircraft. And that's down to piloting technique. If your pilots are trained to do what's defined as a continuous descent approach, and just to give you a practical example, you're at 35,000 feet. If the pilots plan their descent carefully, they will put the thrust levers to idle at 35,000 feet. This airplane will start descending and it'll be a continuous descent approach. None of this leveling off, because every time the airplane levels off, the thrust levers come forward and the fuel flow goes up and you burn more fuel. Now, sometimes you have to level off for air traffic control reasons, but in a lot of airports now, what they're trying to do is to try and reduce the carbon footprint of the aircraft. They don't want the aircraft to sort of pollute the air a lot. So they're understanding air traffic to try and coordinate with the pilots to execute these continuous descent approaches so that the airplane doesn't pollute the air as much. But you need a well-trained pilot that knows how to do this kind of approach. Bring the landing gear down a bit later than usual. I mean, some airlines, for example, one airline I flew for, they had a requirement that 2,500 feet, they wanted the airplane completely configured for landing. And then I flew for another airline previous to that, where we had to be completely configured by 2.5 miles. Now, the difference in fuel between those 2 airlines was about 2 to 250 kilos of fuel per flight. Now, that's a lot of money when you're doing like 1,500, 2,000 flights a day, which this airline was doing. That racks up to a lot of money. In fact, the second airline no longer exists. And I think one of the reasons is, their bad management of fuel and piloting technique, and that which was the standing operating procedure. But on the private jet, you run the show. So just to recap, if you hire the right pilot, they'll know how to buy the right fuel, and they'll also know how to fly the airplane in a way that you won't be consuming extra fuel in an unnecessary manner. The third tip for reducing costs of the operation of your private jet is maintenance. If you're buying a new aircraft, it will come usually with about 5 years guarantee, which the maintenance is included, so you don't really have to worry. But if you're buying an older aircraft, what I suggest you do is to get your aircraft on a special program where you pay an hourly rate. So it's almost like a subscription, because this allows you to plan your maintenance and know how much you're going to be paying, and it also builds in certain insurances within the package. As you pay an hourly rate, certain things will be included. So you may think that you're paying more money by doing it this way, but if something does go wrong or does go horribly wrong, you could end up with a $300,000-$400,000 bill, which if you've been on a prepaid program, it would have saved you tons of money. But again, usually your chief pilot or your lead captain will be managing the maintenance side side of the airplane as well. So if we go back to point one, pay people good money so you can hire and retain the right people and treat them well by all means. Don't just throw $250,000 at your lead captain and then treat them like dirt, because people do leave for these reasons as well. So you want to attract the right people, pay them good money, treat them well, so they'll buy fuel at the right way, they'll manage the aircraft, the fuel management in the correct manner, and they'll also manage your maintenance in the right way and get your whole ship running. What you've basically got to do is you've got to think of your $20-30 million airplane as a company. So your lead captain and the other captains and the first officers are your management team that manage this $20-30 million company. That's the way you've got to look at it. And if you do that and you have that type of mindset, you will be reducing the costs of operating your private jet. So that's all from Fab Polly here. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, please subscribe. And we've just launched our Patreon, so I encourage you to sign up for Patreon. Those that do sign up for Patreon and pay a monthly subscription will have access to our monthly Zoom call. We're going to do video call where you'll be able to be live with me, be able to ask me questions in real time, and I'll be able to answer. Yeah, that's all from Fab Polly at BizJet TV, and I'll see you on the next one.